Grandpa Bill, story time with Grandpa Bill. It's Grandpa Bill's story time. Yay! Hi, I'm Grandpa Bill. Welcome to Grandpa Bill's story time. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, and we're going to sit down and read a good book. Okay, our story today is The Sailor Dog by Margaret Wise Brown, author of Goodnight Moon. Illustrated by Garth Williams. Illustrated by means the person who made the pictures. Sailor is the doggy who's a sailor. Yeah. Born at sea in the teeth of a gale, the sailor was a dog. Scuppers was his name. There he is. Ooh, the seas look pretty rough. After that, he lived on a farm, but Scuppers, born at sea, was a sailor. And when he grew up, he wanted to go to sea. So he went to look for something to go in. Oh, the airport. He's checking out the airport. He found a big airplane. All aboard, they called. It was going up in the sky. But Scuppers did not want to go up in the sky. Look at the airplane. That's cute. He found a little submarine. All aboard, they called. It was going down under the sea, but Scuppers did not want to go down under the sea. He found a little car. All aboard, they called. It was going over the land, but Scuppers did not want to go over the land. Look at the submarine, it's cute. He found a subway train. See, it goes down in the ground. It's called a subway. All aboard, they called. It was going under the ground, but Scuppers did not want to go under the ground. He didn't want to do that either. Scuppers was a sailor. He wanted to go to sea. So Scuppers went over the hills and far away until he came to the ocean. And on the ocean was a ship. It was blowing all its whistles. All aboard, they called. All aboard, they're going ashore. All aboard. Going out, getting ready to go out to sea. So Scuppers went to sea. The ship began to move slowly along. The wind blew it. In his ship, Scuppers had a little room. In his room, he had a hook for his hat, and a hook for his rope, and a hook for his pants, and a hook for his coat, and a hook for his spyglass, and a place for his shoes, and a bunk for a bed to put himself in. At night, Scuppers threw the anchor into the sea and went down to his little room. Yeah, the anchor on the bottom stops him from floating away. He hung his hat on the hook for his hat, and his rope on the hook for his rope, and his pants on the hook for his pants, and his coat on the hook for his coat, and his spyglass on the hook for his spyglass, and he put his shoes under the bed and got into his bed, which was a bunk, and went to sleep. There's all of his thing hanging on the hooks. There's his shoes. He's going to bed. Oh. Next morning, he was shipwrecked. Oh no! Too big a storm blew out of the sky. The anchor dragging the ship crashed onto the rocks. There was a big hole in it. Scuppers himself was washed overboard and hurled by huge waves onto the shore. Oh my goodness. It was foggy and rainy. There was no houses, and Scuppers needed a house. But on the beach was lots and lots of driftwood, an old rusty box stuck in the sand. Maybe it was a treasure. It's got a few snails growing on it. It was a treasure to Scuppers. It was an old-fashioned toolbox with a hammer and nails and an axe and a saw. Everything he needed to build himself a house. So Scuppers started to build a house all by himself out of driftwood. He built a door and a window and a roof and a porch and a floor and some walls, all out of driftwood. All he found was, he also found some red bricks and built a big red chimney. And then he lit a fire and the smoke went up the chimney. Oh, he's building himself a little house. After building his house, he was hungry, so he went fishing. He went fishing in a big river. The first fish he caught never came up. The second fish he caught got away. The third fish he caught was too little. But the next fish he caught was just right. He got himself fish. That night he cooked the fish he caught, and the smoke went up the chimney. Fish fry for dinner. Then the stars came out and he was asleep. So he made a bed of pine branches. He jumped into his deep green bed and went to sleep. And he slept and he dreamed. If he could build a house, he could mend a hole in his ship. Maybe. So the next day, at low tide, he took out his toolbox and waded out and hammered planks across the hole in his ship. At last, the ship was fixed. So he sailed away until he came to a seaport in a foreign land. By now, his clothes were all ripped and torn and blown to pieces. His shirt was torn, his hat and his coat were gone, and his shoes were all worn out. Only his pants were still good. Oh boy, everything's all wore out. So he went ashore to buy some clothes at the Army and Navy store. First, he bought a coat. He found a red one too small. He found a blue one just right. It had brass buttons. Then he bought a hat. He found a purple one too silly. He found a white one just right. He needed new shoes. He found some yellow ones too small and some red ones too fancy. Then he found some white ones just right. Here he is wearing his new hat, his new shoes, and his coat with the shiny brass buttons. He has a can of polish and a cloth to keep them shiny. And he has a new rope and a bushel of fresh oranges. Now Scuppers wants to go back to sea, so he goes there. He got all the new clothes. Got his food. And at night, when the stars come out, he takes one last look through the spyglass. He goes down below to his little room. He hangs his new hat on his hook for his hat. And he hangs his spyglass on the hook for his spyglass. And he hangs his new coat on the hook for his coat. And he hangs pants on the hook for his pants. And his new rope on the hook for his rope. And his new shoes he puts under his bunk. And himself he puts in his bunk. And here he is where he wants to be, a sailor sailing in the deep green sea. Aw, he likes being a sailor. He's a sailor dog, right? Oh, look at this. This is his song. Let me read it to you. I am Scuppers the sailing dog. I'm Scuppers the sailing dog. I can sail in a gale, ride over a whale, under full sail in a fog. I am Scuppers the sailor dog. I'm Scuppers the sailor dog. With a shake and a snort, I can sail into port, under full sail in a fog. He came up with his own little song. Isn't that cute? Aw, well, thank you for sharing this book with me today. Come back again for more stories with Grandpa Bill. Goodbye.